A Qatar Airways flight was forced to make an emergency landing because a woman allegedly found out her husband was cheating on her in mid-flight. Apparently what happened is, husband was asleep. She spied on her husband's phone and discovered he was having an affair. I think she used his finger to open it, you know, the fingertip. Yeah. I don't use that.
Yeah.
Well, the worst part was the woman had been drinking alcohol. They had a child with them on the flight and started a massive fight with her husband. The fight became apparently so out of control, they couldn't calm her down, that the pilot made the decision to divert the flight and land in India to get them off the aircraft.
I don't know. Have you ever met a truly upset woman? Yeah, I can see it happening.
In a confined space like that?
Right. And she was drinking, disinhibited. I mean, they were probably afraid that she was going to cause some more ruckus that would affect all the other guests, obviously.
That poor child. That child could be irreparably harmed from watching the mother and dad have a mid-flight fight. Where if you,
embarrassing.
I wasn't there. There's no footage of it. But if you divert a plane,
that's an
international flight, there's some stuff going on there that is ugly. Because I heard this story and I'm thinking, couldn't they have just separated the husband and wife?
Again,
like
have you ever met a woman who was truly
Different ends
and
of the
who would be
plane.
doing that? Because are we asking the flight
stuff.
attendants to get in there with their muscle and wrestle her off of him? I mean, I don't know what
was mad.
Yeah, is the takeaway here as a psychologist, is it that you know, if you're going to check your husband's phone, wait until you're on terra firma?
Well, if she had that kind of self-control, we would not be talking about the story, obviously. But, I mean, it is more common than we would like to think. You know, up to 30% of men have admitted that they've cheated at least once, and 15 to 20% of women have admitted, and I think those are underreported. And then there's a cycle. So once somebody's a cheater, when they say someone's a cheater, always a cheater, there's some truth to that because they're 3 more times likely to cheat again. And so it's a common issue, but I think communication is obviously key, right? I mean, were they talking before this?
And I think you're going to need a cooling off period, right, to settle down a little bit, other ends of the plane, and then make an appointment with you, Judy, to talk this out. And you're going to give somebody another chance or not, and if that's not your thing.
Candace, did you have that conversation up front with your relationships or with your husband, like, this is my line, or, you know, I just wonder if people always talk about it up front or not.
I think when you get married, that should be a...
Yes, that is.
Hello?
I don't think there's a conversation to be had. I think that's what marriage is.
Hopefully,
That is, that you say, when you get married, that that's not part of it unless you
I just don't know what people think that would be like. You know, I mean, they are promising themselves in this way and then they do this, but people do all kinds of crazy things.
They do. And if you are in this scenario, how do you protect the kid? Because the kid doesn't need to know.
That's right.
At that age, when you're a youngster, understanding all that, because that's the only, look, they can get a divorce, that's fine, but the child who's sitting here watching the two parents, how do you handle that? Do you always just keep the child at arm's length?
You do have to, and I know it's hard for parents because when you're in the middle of something emotional, it's hard to do that, but you absolutely have to, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen patients where they say, this was a traumatic moment in my life when I was a child and found out that one parent was cheating on the other and that was the cause of their split or their divorce. And so I would say, as much as possible, you have to shield your child from it. You have to have these conversations away from your child.